Hello everyone, Blitz here. Back in January or February, I don't really remember or care to remember, here in 2025, the Flash movie director Andy Muschietti came out and blamed the audience for the failure of his movie back in 2023. When the movie released, apparently the movie didn't fit the full quadrant, whatever it's called, for his narrative, which basically means that men and women under and over the age of 25 to enjoy his movie. Basically, he wants this movie to appeal to every kind of audience and demographic, but trying to reach every kind of audience only just sets you up for failure. I know everyone gave their thoughts and opinions and reasons on this already, and this is old drama that isn't that serious, but I want to talk about this anyway. So I have several reasons why the Flash movie failed. Starting off at number one here, and let's get the main reason here out of the way first, and that's the main star of the movie, Ezra Miller. I really don't want to waste my time on this idiot, but he is the main reason this movie flopped. This actor has so many controversies around him. I'm not going to go over all of them, but just a few of them. If you want to know more about the controversies, there are tons of videos on YouTube that talk about them and talk about this moron and his controversies. A few months before the movie's release back in March 2023, every week leading up to the movie, he has ended up in the news with some crime and some kind of incident. Offense and news articles were written about him and many other things he has did back in 2022. These are the few things that he has done allegedly. I'm saying this allegedly so I don't get attacked and sued for this. Was breaking into a home to steal alcohol, getting into a bar fight in Hawaii, kidnapping a minor and supposedly dating them, taking a picture of a baby with a bullet in their mouth, and taunting the police on social media, and many more allegedly crimes he has done. All these things he has done ruin his reputation, and they allowed him to still walk the red carpet to the premiere of the movie. He said that he was going to get help and people are going to forgive him, but to be honest, no one's going to forgive him. The only people that will forgive him is the sad Snyder cultists, but I work with some of the self-aware Snyder cultists, and they don't even like Ezra Miller at all. Ezra Miller's reputation is definitely ruined anyway. The second reason this movie flopped, it's a Snyderverse movie. I'm going to get comments saying it's not, and Snyder has nothing to do with this. But I'm sorry, he is tagged as a producer in all these movies, and it's still his universe, so I'm going to keep my thoughts and opinions and bias on Zack Snyder to the side. We all know the story of Snyder's work on DC movies. To the small group of people that don't know about Zack Snyder, after the Dark Knight trilogy ended, directed by Christopher Nolan, he was given the opportunity to reboot Superman and direct it, but he gave it to Zachy here to direct, and Zack made some decisions that not the general audience liked. And the sequel to Superman, Man of Steel, Batman x Superman, Love of the Century, Dawn of Heroes, and the movie was heavily criticized. Not everyone liked it, and it ruined DC's reputation and made people not care for these movies. Zachy took a dark turn, a dark and gritty path, and made the heroes who supposedly deconstruct deeper meaning to them by being edgy. He made some changes to the big three of DC, and DC fans did not like it at all. Zack Snyder is controversial with his comic book media, with his takes on comics. That's it. That's all you have to know about this one. I got nothing else, and I'm going to keep my opinions to the side. The next reason here is the reboot. So after the failure of the 2022 The Rock movie Black Adam flopped and was supposed to save the dceu Snyderverse, so WB gave James Gunn and Peter Safran the keys to DC and decided to just do a soft reboot of DC. The DCU had 4 remaining movies too far in the works that couldn't be scrapped or go to HBO Max. That was Shazam 2, Aquaman 2, Blue Beetle, and The Flash. So after the announcement, the rest of the movies didn't matter and led to nowhere, and people didn't bother to go see them. The fourth reason here is superhero fatigue, which I don't believe is a thing. It's hard to believe this fatigue when there's a superhero project that breaks this issue every year. This term was tossed around back in 2022 and 2023. It was also tossed around during the 2010s. I was feeling this last year in 2024 with barely any superhero content anyway. With only one real superhero movie and the rest was Sony trash. Basically, people are just getting really tired of superhero content, just seeing the same thing over and over again from the last 10 years. And people, and probably the critics, got tired of seeing the superhero formula, and the Flash movie is not so different. A lot of this is basically on Marvel. They revealed like 6,000 TV shows and 20 movies a year. It was just so tiring and trying to keep up with all this, trying to keep up with all of them. There was like a new superhero project every month from both Marvel and DC. People were just tired of seeing superhero stuff. But people really did enjoy The Boys, and damn it, I forgot that happens when you mentioned that. When you mentioned, okay, these two shows do take the superhero genre and makes a twist on it a little. The Boys were created by a person who clearly hates superheroes. It's supposed to be a little realistic dealing with corrupt superheroes while vigilantes are trying to take them down. I'm not going to go into much detail, and with Invincible, I'm not adding the joke anymore. With the show, Mark Grayson looked up to his father and wanted to be a hero when he got his powers, while at the same time he's balancing this with his normal life, like maintaining a relationship and keeping his identity a secret. This just basically is like Spider-Man, but the reason I think they're more enjoyable because they make fun of the superhero genre, and they aren't afraid to hold back on showing violence, blood, and gore. They know how to balance comic book silliness and be serious. Modern superhero movies from Marvel and DC are afraid to show a drop of blood without parents freaking out on social media, so people enjoy these shows. The next reason here, too much competition. Too many movies in the summer of 2023. The Flash movie released in June of 2023. There was tons of other blockbusters released that same month. There was Transformers: Rise of the Beast, Spider-Man Across the Snyderverse, The Boogeyman, Elemental, Indiana Jones 5. May of 2023 still had a few movies in theaters around that time, like Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Fast and Furious 10, and The Little Mermaid. In July, I had Mission Impossible 7, and people were saving their money for the biggest movies of the month in the year. The famous internet meme, Barbie and Oppenheimer. People were saving money for those movies. The next reason here is Flashpoint. This movie is supposed to be based on the Flashpoint comic, but it isn't. If you watch the animated movie of this storyline, you can understand why. The Reverse Flash isn't in the movie, but he's the one that's pulling the strings from behind the scenes. No Thomas Wayne Batman, just replaced with Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne. And Aquaman and Wonder Woman, people are fighting each other. Superman is replaced with Supergirl. Cyborg isn't in it because the actor who plays Cyborg has problems with WB and asking for an apology from WB for the past 6 to 8 years, which will never happen. They can't do any other storyline for the Flash and have to go with the one they did a dozen times. He has other stories that are probably more interesting to adapt to the big screen. I'm going to keep this one brief. It's the multiverse. People are getting tired of the multiverse since everyone is doing it, not just Marvel and DC, but many other franchises started doing it ever since Marvel started getting into that concept. And DC started doing the multiverse, which with the Flash show back in season 2, 2015. Smallville did a few episodes like this, but this was before the whole superhero content was on top of the world, but everyone got tired of the multiverse quickly. Next reason here is Batman. I'm going to keep this one brief too. We all know that Batman is DC's moneymaker at this point, and Batman has been rebooted like 10,000 in any shape or form. Through live action, animation, gaming, comics, toys, poetry, McDonald's. Okay, Batman is one of my favorite superheroes, but DC has tons of other interesting heroes they can focus on. But Batman is the only one they throw out the most. And this movie relies on Batman too much and nostalgia to pull on our heartstrings. I wasn't alive when Michael Keaton was playing Batman, but the way they handle him was strange. This movie has 80 different Batmen in it, but only 3 play a big role. You have edgelord Ben Affleck, 89 Michael Keaton, and Bat Nipple George Clooney. They can't tell a single story about this character without adding Batman somehow to make it more interesting. And that character I'm talking about is the Flash. They can't make a story about the Flash to make it interesting at all. The next reason here is the Flash, the character himself. His reputation has gone down here ever since the TV show has gotten really bad with the awful writing in the show. The enjoyability to watch it has definitely affected it. And the Flash himself is overpowered, and the show is poorly written a lot of the times. This probably is one of the reasons the movie failed. The next reason is WB, Warner Brothers, the studio that owns DC Comics. This company has become so infamous throughout the years. Anytime a DC movie gets any criticism, they panic and meddle with the movies change them to their liking. They interfere a lot, change the director's visions, and mess it up. They wanted to get their superhero cash just like Marvel. They mostly like to reboot all the time when their movie gets hate. Instead of slowly building up this universe, they slowly decided to rush it and it came out messy. They stopped interfering after the failure of the Justice League movie. Reportedly, this movie comes from a studio that doesn't really care and people hate this studio a lot. One thing from me, I'd rather have DC in the hands of them instead of Netflix, but we all know, we all now know Disney's going to own everything anyway. Terrible marketing. Studios and movies need to market movies in some way or somehow. So with the main star doing terrible crimes, one of the producers or costume designers came out saying that Ezra's performance is so good that you will forget about his crimes. A lot of people were like, no, that's not how that works. We don't forget stuff like that. That's like saying the most terrible person in history committed so many war crimes that can get them the death penalty 10 times over. But hey, they donated to charity dozens of times, so they're a good person. Another way they marketed this movie was to get tons of A-list celebrities like Tom Cruise and Martin Scorsese saying like, this is the best superhero movie ever. And I'm saying that's total BS. There is no way that these two and others will ever say that, especially Martin. They had to be paid by the studios to say that. Mr. Scorsese's here says superhero movies aren't real cinema and all theme park rides. You have fun and move on. They aren't real movies. I basically agree with him to a certain point, but there are only one movie from both franchises that are real movies, and that's The Dark Knight and Logan. But there were like two movies to defy his claims, and that was Spider-Verse 1 and Joker 1. Other than that small rant, the movie had terrible marketing. The next reason here is awful CGI and the cameos. When the movie released, a lot of people shared clips of the movie while it was in theaters, showing the awful CGI. It looks very rubbery and weird. For the CGI, the internet made fun of it. One noticeable one was CGI babies. It was very noticeable. And for the cameos was also posted online. A lot the cameos they did was very disrespectful and they used dead actors and canceled movies. One was Christopher Reeve's Superman, Helen Steller's Supergirl, Jay Garrett, who was one of the producers, I think, Adam West Batman, George Reeves Superman, who said that playing this character ruined his career. He played Superman in a TV show back in the 1950s. Nicolas Cage Superman from a movie that was canceled and was never made. And there are a few other ones that I'm not going to add here or remember, or they even were in the movie. The internet dragged this cameo fest through the mud and ripping it apart, calling it disgusting, disrespectful, and tragic. The way that WB used Christopher Reeve's likeness in a disgraceful way, full of CGI human people, instead of they could have used cameos of actors that were still alive. Many people wanted to see Grant Gustin's Flash in the movie. They could have added Tom Welling, Superman, Stephen Amell's Green Arrow, or Green Spectre now, actors from any of the other DC shows and non-DCE movies. Bell's Batman didn't want to return unless Christopher Nolan is directing the movie, and the Dark Knight trilogy had a perfect ending anyway. The CGI baby scene was made fun of the most, and the part where Ezra Miller put one of the CGI babies in a microwave. A lot of people said on the internet said times when actors weren't acting. This is given to his crime spree he did. For context, the Flash was saving people from a crumbling hospital building, and he was using flash time slowly running fast to save them while falling out of the building, and Mr. Flash is losing energy, so he's moving the babies around slowly to get them on a stretcher, and he puts one baby in a microwave. He is doing this from dangerous obstacles through this and saving a nurse at the same time. They're basically using real life speed instead of comic book speed nonsense. You can run around them and they will be fine, but using real life speed, the motion of it can harm you very badly. Just basically think of that one scene in The Boys when A-Train ran through someone. The CGI drove people away. The last one here, as I like to call the internet reviewers here, and I'm no better here, maybe. I don't know. Ever since the rise of YouTube, tons of people make reviews and give their thoughts and opinions on movies. It's totally alright to get a second opinion on a movie to see if it's worth watching or to go see it or not. But there are channels reviewers that out there are just completely trashing on this and throws out the whole woke BS that drives people away from these movies. Channels like Nerderotic and Critical Drinker does this a lot. People also don't trust the critics a lot like they used to, and people really hate the Rotten Tomatoes and IGN takes on these films, but sometimes it can be accurate. One more thing I like to rant about before I close the video off, and that is about the Snyder fans, especially the cultists. This fan base is so sad and toxic for no reason. Yeah, it's messed up your favorite person got screwed over and the universe got rebooted. But come on, we all saw the reboot coming from a mile away. They occupy Twitter and Facebook the most, and they beg anyone to restore the DCU at any cost. They hate WB the most, and I can understand that, but WB is not selling DC, and it's not going to go to Netflix. You got to accept that, and you cultists can cry about it too. That's what you're all good at anyway. Netflix can only stream the movie, not make them. They are characters from DC Comics from a fan base that's supposed to be smart and deep, but they are clearly stupid. Also, Netflix is screwing Zack over. Also, it's clearly visible with the director's cuts he has over there. They aren't giving him the freedom to do whatever he wants, and they hate James Gunn for no reason. I'm not gonna hate a guy who made us some bad jokes 20 years ago. People can change, you know. They send death threats to everyone who says one bad thing about Zack's movies, especially Superman ones. That's the only movies that they only like. They even send death threats to the person they worship and the actors that he has chosen. And the other thing I find funny, these cultists were begging The Rock to bring the DCU back on Twitter one time when he's the one that killed it in the first place, which I am so thankful for him for doing so, saying that he's the only one that listens. Well, he did listen, but they didn't see his movie in the first place. Black Adam was going to bring the universe back, and he got Henry Cavill Superman back, but they didn't want to watch the movie. They only want Zack to direct it. This is why The Rock went back to the WWE, and The Rock also spoiled his own movie also, and it got banned in other countries too. This is hilarious too. They begged The Rock to restore this universe they like, but didn't want to go see it to do so. The Rock clearly wanted to take over the DCU Snyderverse anyway, and a part of me wished that he did, because it would have been hilarious, because he would interfere a lot. WB did give this fan base multiple chances to bring the DCU back, but they didn't support it at all. You know, pirating doesn't count as supporting, and you cultists have yourselves to blame. They are crying to anyone who would listen, but nobody is listening anymore. If you miss your universe, just go make a fan film based on those movies' influence. Everyone is doing that anyway. They are even better than the official movies anyway. And also, using Zack Snyder's deceased daughter to bring this universe back and getting attention is really messed up. Even Snyder won't agree with you. Leave his family out of this. You seriously need help if you ever do this. I get you want to fight for something you love, but that's really fucked up. Do better. Who am I kidding? This fan base is really messed up. Another thing I like to add, I don't think this movement they are doing isn't even about Superman anymore. Heck, I don't think it's about Snyder anymore. I think they just want to complain to complain. They're just looking for attention. Snyder's no longer working at Netflix anymore. And he's probably done with this superhero stuff. He just wants to live his life and focus on projects he's passionate about. But his fan base likes to ruin his name. It's way too late for the DCU to come back. All these actors are doing their own thing. Snyder's not coming back. If Universal buys WB, they are not bringing it back. They don't want to waste their time on a failure of a universe. If this new Superman movie flops, just be ready for a ton of Batman movies or no more DC movies at all. Post 2019 DC movies made money, but Snyder had nothing to do with it. That's just the hype of the superhero genre in general. A Aquaman movie made more money than his movies, and he had nothing to do with that movie at all. Aquaman is like a C-list hero character. An Aquaman movie made $1 billion at the box office instead of Batman and Superman in one movie. I just don't get that at all. Sorry for that rant. I needed to say that. This fanbase really makes me mad, and I'm not going to bring up this toxic fanbase up again anytime soon or ever again. These are the reasons I believe the Flash movie failed. If I had to summarize it up to a few actual reasons, I believe it failed because of the controversy surrounding the main actor, Ezra Miller, before the movie's release, the reboot itself, and people are tired of seeing so much superhero content. the three main factors for the movie's failure. And no, Mr. Andy, that's total bullshit that you blame us for the movie's failure. It's not our fault, mostly yours. I didn't see the movie in theaters, but I did saw it on Netflix when it was available for a week. I watched it. It was not great or god awful, but it was bad with some moments in it I enjoyed. If you enjoyed this video and have any questions about it, tell me your thoughts and opinions down below, and I'll see you all later.